I ended up here in Cincinnati. I grew up in New York. I did my training in Boston. You could probably tell from my accent. After 14 years at Harvard University, I had job offers from multiple Ivy League institutions. But my course changed dramatically when I heard an impressive keynote lecture by Dr. Jeff Whitsitt at a national meeting. Jeff asked me to stop in Cincinnati on my way to accept a position at Stanford University. My two-day visit at Cincinnati Children's and the College of Medicine was shockingly impressive, especially when I received a competitive offer from Tom Boat only a few days later. I realized that the position and environment at Cincinnati Children's was going to be the best way to jumpstart my career in academic pediatrics. So I coaxed my wife, Joy, to come join me for a visit to Cincinnati. You bet I didn't tell her that the airplane would land in Kentucky. Well, the rest is history, and I must greatly thank Joy for being flexible, caring, supportive, and behind me every step of the way for the past 33 years. She's been a great mother and now grandmother to our growing family of 10 children. My interest in medicine was undoubtedly influenced by my upbringing. While I was the first person in my immediate family to graduate college, my parents instilled education as the most important value. Watching my mother, a juvenile diabetic, take her insulin impressed me daily with the significance of medical breakthroughs. In her case, the life-saving capacity of insulin. My father encouraged curiosity and answered more questions than anyone else, including my professors. In high school, I turned our apartment bathroom into a chemistry lab and was awarded the first place Eastman Kodak Science and Engineering Award for high school science projects on Long Island, New York. A strong influence in my life was my swim coach, Bob Soltz. He taught me the value of teamsmanship, how to set high goals, the meaning of hard work, and not giving up, principles that continue to guide me today. I attended Brandeis University as we shared a common Jewish heritage. The strongest influence in college was my research experience under the late Professor William P. Jenks, one of the leading biochemists of his generation. One of the breakthroughs at that time was the technology for automated processing, in this case a repetitive auto-injector for high-performance liquid chromatography. This allowed me to set up experiments and go to the campus pub, only to return in the wee hours of the night to read the exciting printouts of the new data. While this led to my first two publications, the most important lessons I learned from Jenks was humility in acknowledging how little even the best scientists truly understand. Hence my need to continue to pursue science and to maintain humbleness. At Harvard, nearly everyone excelled at something. So what was my gig? I distinguished myself in the lab of the famous immunologist Professor K. Frank Austin, where my fascination with eosinophils began as I made an unexpected discovery that human eosinophils were long-lived cells. This was originally a finding that Professor Austin did not agree with, but I used my swimming team coach's philosophy of not giving up and eventually continued this research, which convinced my professor. Indeed, this work turned out to be important, setting up the stage for the discovery of eosinophil hematopoietins, which led to a whole new class of drugs recently. Our preclinical studies in the 1990s substantiated these findings, and in the early 2000s helped provide the basis for clinical development of a new class of drugs, the anti-eosinophil therapeutics for asthma and allergic diseases. The chemoattractant that provided the tissue signal that worked in concert with the eosinophil IL-5 was the subject of my postdoctoral work in the laboratory of Professor Phil Leader, the chairman of the Department of Genetics at Harvard. This led to my elucidation of the eotaxin family of chemokines involved in elicitation of tissue eosinophilia. So much has happened since my recruitment to Cincinnati in 1996. I'm most grateful to the myriad of colleagues and trainees who I've been fortunate to interact with, many of whom are part of my research team at large. This includes my long-standing partnership with Professors Margaret Collins in pathology and Phil Putnam in gastroenterology, who have been foundational in establishing the Cincinnati Center for Eosinophilic Diseases. Dr. Collins and Putnam sparked my curiosity about eosinophilic esophagitis in 1999 when they asked me to help explain some of the original patients. I was most interested when they told me that I could get access to human eosinophilic tissues through endoscopic biopsies, as my prior work was limited to mouse experiments and human blood samples. This started a long pursuit, which now involves over 20 local talented physicians, scientists, and staff, and has become exemplary for other institutions setting up similar centers around the world. I want to close by expressing my gratitude to the extended members of my team, as the science could not take place without so many parts. This includes administrative assistants, medical editors, business people, the environmental service personnel, personnel in the scientific corps, hospital leadership, research administration, the patients themselves, patient advocacy groups such as the Cured Foundation and its amazing founder, Ellen Kodroff, philanthropists who have provided enabling funds, especially Michael and Amy Zuccarelli, and Dave and Denise Bunning, the funding agencies, especially the NIH, and drug companies that have had key partnership roles in transitioning and translating our findings to clinical utility. I'm indebted to Drs. Amal Assad and Kim Rizma for their contribution, partnership, and leadership. Special thanks to CEGIR, the team at large, including my long-term collaborator and friend, Professor Glenn Ferruter in Colorado. A huge and central team member is my wife Joy, my sounding board, strongest supporter and best friend. Thanks to my whole family, especially my parents and children. A special thanks to my former trainee, Dr. Nivis Zimmerman, who spearheaded the Drake nomination. Cincinnati Children's is the best place for impacting child health, and I'm most grateful to the hospital for supporting, for believing in me, and allowing me to pursue my interests, including the long-distance working. Big thanks to Dr. Tom Boat for being a long-term mentor and role model, and thank you to the Almighty for blessing me to be here today.